I found out my wife was pregnant, not with my child, with my best friend's child, and I only discovered it because I was dying. The doctors gave me 6 months. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. I remember the exact moment Dr. Patterson said it. His lips moved, the words came out, but for 3 seconds I couldn't hear anything. Just the sound of the fluorescent lights humming above my head. 6 months, maybe 8 if I was lucky, maybe 3 if I wasn't. My name is Michael. I'm 34 years old. I have a wife named Sarah. We've been married for 9 years. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew everything about her. Turns out I didn't know anything. The cancer diagnosis came after 6 months of symptoms I ignored. Weight loss, fatigue, abdominal pain that came and went like someone was turning a knife inside me. I kept telling myself it was stress, it was work. It was the fact that my marriage had been feeling hollow for the past year, but I couldn't admit that to myself, so I pushed it down and pretended everything was fine. Sarah was distant, that's what I noticed first. She used to touch me when we talked. She used to laugh at my jokes. Now she looked at me like I was furniture in a room she was trying to redecorate. I asked her about it once. "Are you happy?" I said. We were in bed, lights off. That's when people tell the truth, supposedly, in the dark. "I'm fine," she said. "Why?" "You seem sad." "I'm not sad, Michael. I'm just tired." She was always tired. She was tired when I came home from work. She was tired on weekends. She was tired when I tried to touch her. She was tired of me, basically. But I didn't want to admit that. I wanted to believe that marriages go through phases, that this was just a phase, that we'd come out the other side. I was an idiot. The cancer diagnosis changed everything. Suddenly, the marriage didn't matter anymore. Suddenly, nothing mattered. All I could think about was that I was going to die, and I'd never know why my wife stopped loving me. I decided to tell her on a Friday night. We were sitting in the living room. She was on her laptop. I was on the couch. I just said it. I have cancer, pancreatic, stage 4, 6 months. She didn't look up from her laptop. "Oh," she said, "that's bad." That's it. That's all she said. That's bad. I waited for her to come over and hold me. I waited for her to cry. I waited for her to say something that indicated she gave a shit that I was dying. She just went back to typing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to her and listened to her breathe and wondered if I'd ever really known this person. I wondered if the woman I married was a different person than the woman sleeping next to me now, or if I'd just been too blind to see who she really was. The next morning, Sarah told me she had to go to her sister's place for the weekend. Her sister was having some kind of crisis. Sarah didn't explain what the crisis was. She just said she had to go. "Now?" I said. "Really?" "Yes, Michael, really. My sister needs me." She packed a bag and left. She didn't kiss me goodbye. She didn't say, "I love you." She just left. I sat in the house alone. My wife had just left me alone with a cancer diagnosis, and instead of feeling angry, I just felt tired. That's when I decided to look through her laptop. I know, that's a violation of privacy. That's a breach of trust. That's the kind of thing that destroys relationships. But I had 6 months to live, and my relationship was already destroyed. So what did I have to lose? Her laptop was in the bedroom, password protected. I tried the obvious ones, our anniversary, our dog's birthday. Nothing worked. Then I tried our first date, December 15th, the day we met at Northwestern, 12/15/15.
It worked. I didn't know what I was expecting to find. Maybe emails to a therapist about how unhappy she was. Maybe messages to her sister about wanting to leave me. Maybe something that would explain why she'd emotionally abandoned me while I was still physically here. What I found was worse. Her emails, hundreds of them, all to the same person. My best friend, James. Not love emails, that's what shocked me. Not romantic emails, just logistics, planning, coordinating, lies. I told Michael I was going to my sister's. I'll be at the hotel at 8. Don't be late. Michael's working late tonight. We have the house until 10. He's starting to get suspicious. We need to be more careful. And then, 3 weeks ago, this one. I'm pregnant. It's yours. We need to talk about what we're going to do. And James's response. Congratulations. This is what we wanted. I read that email 7 times, maybe 8. I couldn't make sense of the words. This is what we wanted. Not, oh my God, what do we do? Not, this is a disaster. Not, we have to be careful. Just, this is what we wanted. Which meant it was planned. Which meant my wife and my best friend had been planning to have a baby together while I was at home, while I was dying, while I was still paying the mortgage on this house. I felt something inside me break. Not metaphorically, physically. I felt it like something snapping in my chest. I checked the date on the email. 3 weeks ago. So she was already pregnant when she said she was tired all the time. She was already pregnant when she looked at me with those dead eyes. She was already pregnant when she said, I love you on our anniversary, which she definitely said. I remember that specifically because I was trying so hard to make our marriage work. I went to the bathroom and threw up. Then I did something I've never done before. I called James. Hey man, he said, what's up? I couldn't speak. Michael, you there? Where are you? I said. At home. Why? You're alone? Yeah. Why are you asking? I hung up. I sat on the bathroom floor and tried to think. My wife was at a hotel with my best friend. My wife was pregnant with my best friend's baby. My wife had been lying to me for months. My best friend had been lying to me for months. And I was dying. That's what kept coming back to me. Not the betrayal, not the affair, not the fact that my entire life was a lie. Just that I was dying, and they'd been doing this while I was dying. I could have confronted them. I could have called Sarah and told her I knew. I could have gone to James's house and done something I'd regret. But instead, I made a decision that I didn't fully understand at the time. I decided to let them think I didn't know. I decided to see how far they'd go. I decided to become a ghost in my own life and watch everything fall apart. Sarah came home Sunday night. She was glowing, literally glowing. There was this light in her eyes that I hadn't seen in months. She kissed me on the cheek. She said, "How was your weekend?" Like she cared, like I wasn't a man whose wife was pregnant with another man's child. It was fine, I said. Quiet, gave me time to think about my treatment options. That's good, she said. Did you decide anything? I'm thinking about not doing chemo, I said. I'm thinking about just accepting what's happening. I watched her face. I watched her process that. I watched her calculate whether my death would be good or bad for her timeline. I think that's very brave, she said finally. Very mature. Brave, mature. Those were the words she used for my decision to stop fighting cancer. That week, I hired a private investigator. I know what you're thinking. That's psychotic behavior. That's the behavior of someone who's lost it. But I hadn't lost it. I'd found something. I'd found clarity. The investigator, a woman named Diane, came to my house on Wednesday. I told her I needed to know everything. Where my wife was going, who she was meeting, how long she was staying, what they were doing. Diane looked at me for a long time. This is going to hurt, she said. I'm already dying. How much worse can it get? The answer is much worse. Over the next 2 weeks, Diane documented everything. Photographs, timestamps, locations. My wife and James met at a hotel on Monday and Thursday nights, sometimes Wednesday. They'd spend 2 hours there, sometimes 3. Once they stayed until midnight. But the worst part wasn't the meetings. The worst part was what I saw on Thursday. I was leaving my oncologist office. I had decided to do the chemo after all. I didn't want to die, even though dying felt like the easier option, even though dying meant I wouldn't have to watch this play out. I saw them, Sarah and James. They were at a restaurant, my favorite restaurant, the one we went to on our anniversary. They were holding hands across the table. Sarah was laughing, the real laugh, the laugh I'd fallen in love with, the laugh I hadn't heard in months. James was looking at her like she was the only person in the world, and I realized something. I realized that she had never looked at me that way. Even in the beginning, even when we were new, she had never looked at me that way. I stood there for 5 minutes, just watching, just taking it in. A man dying of cancer, watching his wife fall in love with his best friend. Then I walked out. I didn't let them see me. I just walked out. I went home. I sat in the dark, and I started to make a plan. It wasn't a revenge plan, not exactly. It was something else. It was a plan to make them understand what they'd done, to make them feel, for one moment, what I was feeling. I started with the documentation. I organized everything, every photo, every timestamp, every location, every piece of evidence that would prove beyond any doubt that my wife was carrying another man's child, that she'd been having an affair, that she'd been lying to me while I was dying. Then I did something else. I made an appointment with a family law attorney, a woman named Patricia who specialized in divorce and custody cases. I want to know, I told her, what happens in a divorce where the wife is pregnant with another man's child. Patricia looked over her glasses at me. That's complicated, she said. Is that your situation? Let's say it is. Then, Patricia said, you need to understand something. If you divorce her now, you'll be on the hook for child support, even though it's not your child, even though you can prove it's not your child. The law sees it differently. If you're married when the child is born, the child is legally yours. So, if I divorce her before the baby is born, I won't have to pay child support? Correct, Patricia said. But you need to act fast. You need to file before the child is born. Once the child is born and you're still married, everything changes. I asked Patricia when the baby was due. She told me I could figure that out from medical records. I already knew, of course. Diane had gotten that information. Sarah was due in 5 months. 5 months. I had 6 months left. That was cutting it close. I left Patricia's office and made another decision. I decided to tell Sarah I knew. But not yet. Not until the timing was perfect. 2 weeks later, I got my test results back. The chemo was working. My markers were down. The cancer was shrinking. My prognosis had changed. Instead of 6 months, they were now saying maybe 2 years, maybe more. I should have been happy. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt robbed. I had made peace with dying. I had accepted it. I had started to let go of everything. And now I had to hold on again. I told Sarah the news at dinner. The chemo is working, I said. I'm not dying. Not soon, anyway. She put down her fork. Oh, she said, that's great. But she didn't say it like it was great. She said it like it was a problem. That's when I knew for sure. That's when I understood that she had been waiting for me to die, that she and James had been planning a life together, that they'd been counting the days until I was gone. That night, I told her I knew everything. I told her about the emails, about the hotel meetings, about the restaurants, about the fact that she was pregnant with my best friend's baby. She didn't deny any of it. She just sat there and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "What are you going to do?" she asked finally. "I don't know yet. I'm still figuring that out."
Are you going to leave me? Should I? I don't know, Michael. That's your decision. She said it so casually, like we were discussing what to have for dinner, not like her entire world was falling apart. That's when I realized the truth. Her world wasn't falling apart. It was coming together, finally, the way she wanted it to. She wanted me to leave. She wanted me to make this easy for her. But I wasn't going to do that. Instead, I stayed. I stayed in that house. I stayed in that marriage. I stayed and watched her get bigger. I stayed and watched her prepare for a baby that wasn't mine. I stayed and watched her plan a future that didn't include me. And I waited. I waited for 5 months. I waited for her to get frustrated with me. I waited for her to ask for a divorce. I waited for her to demand that I leave. But she didn't. She just existed in this strange limbo with me, like I was a piece of furniture she'd decided to keep. I went to work. I got my chemo. I stayed alive. Then, 3 weeks before Sarah's due date, I filed for divorce. Not a contested divorce, not something she had to fight. I filed as an uncontested divorce. She could sign the papers or not. Didn't matter to me, because the divorce would be finalized the day before the baby was born, which meant the baby wouldn't be legally mine, which meant I wouldn't owe child support, which meant she and James would have to figure out how to raise a baby on their own. When Sarah got the papers, she called me at work. She was screaming. "You can't do this," she said. "You can't just leave me when I'm about to have a baby." "I'm not leaving you," I said calmly. "I'm divorcing you. Those are different things." "The baby is due in 3 weeks." "I know. You're going to let me raise this child alone? You're going to abandon us?" "I'm not abandoning you," I said. "I'm protecting myself. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." She hung up on me. I didn't hear from her for 2 days. Then James called. "This is insane, man. You're going to ruin her life. You're going to ruin our lives." "Our lives?" I said. "What lives? You were planning on running off together? You were planning on leaving me to die alone while you two played house? And now you're upset that I'm not cooperating with your plan?" "We never wanted to hurt you," James said. "But you did. You hurt me, and now I'm hurting you back. That's how this works." He hung up too. Sarah signed the divorce papers on day 16, the day before the baby was born. I watched her sign them. I was there in the lawyer's office. Patricia had insisted on it to make sure there were no legal complications. Sarah's hand was shaking as she signed her name. Her belly was enormous. She was ready to deliver any day. "Are you happy now?" she asked me. "No," I said. "I'm not happy, but I'm not sad either." "What are you?" I thought about that for a moment. "I'm alive," I said finally. "That's all I wanted, to survive, to outlive this, to see what happens next." The baby was born the next day, a girl. Sarah named her Emma. I got a text from James with a photo. Baby Emma. Tiny, pink, perfect. I didn't respond. A week later, I got a letter from Sarah's lawyer. She wanted me to take a paternity test. She wanted to establish child support. She wanted me to pay for everything. I took the paternity test. It came back negative. I wasn't the father. Her lawyer sent another letter. This one was from the state. Because I wasn't the biological father, I had no legal obligation to pay child support. The biological father, James, was responsible for establishing paternity and paying support. Sarah called me after that. "He left. James left. He took the paternity test and he left." "Where did he go?" "I don't know. He just said he couldn't do it. He couldn't be a father. He couldn't do it with me." I didn't say anything. "Michael, I need help. I need—" "No," I said. "You don't get to ask me for help. You don't get to ask me for anything." "But Emma—" "Congratulations on Emma. I hope you two have a beautiful life together." Then I hung up. That was 6 months ago. I'm still alive. The cancer is still shrinking. My doctors think I might live for years, maybe a decade, maybe longer. They don't know. What I do know is that Sarah is still trying to reach me. Her lawyer keeps sending letters about child support. She keeps texting me. She keeps calling. I don't respond. James is gone. Apparently, he moved to California with someone else, a woman who wasn't married, a woman who didn't trap him with a baby, a woman who let him have a choice. Sarah is raising Emma alone, on her own salary, on her own. I see her sometimes. I follow her on social media. I know where she works. I know where she lives. I know that Emma is beautiful and healthy and that Sarah loves her desperately.
And I know that Sarah understands now what she took from me. Not just my wife, not just my best friend, but my future. The future I could have had if she'd just been honest. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I regret filing for divorce right before the baby was born, if I regret leaving her to raise a child alone. The answer is yes and no. Yes, because I became someone I don't recognize. I became a man who could watch another person suffer and feel nothing. I became a man who could destroy lives as easily as turning a page. No, because she deserved it. She knew what she was doing. She knew how much it would hurt, and she did it anyway. I'm not a good person. I know that now. A good person would have forgiven her. A good person would have tried to save the marriage. A good person wouldn't have spent 6 months documenting every moment of her affair and then used that documentation to destroy her when the moment was right. But I was dying, or I thought I was. And when you think you're dying, you stop caring about being good. You stop caring about morality. You stop caring about anything except surviving. And now that I've survived, now that I'm going to live, I'm stuck with the person I became in those 6 months. The cold, the calculating, the man who can destroy someone and sleep at night. That's my real punishment. Not that Sarah is suffering, not that James is gone, not that Emma will grow up knowing her father abandoned her. My real punishment is knowing that I'm capable of this, knowing that I can be this cruel, knowing that somewhere inside me there's a version of me that enjoyed it, and having to live with that knowledge for the rest of my life. That's the thing nobody tells you about revenge. It's not that it doesn't work, it's that it works perfectly, and then you have to figure out who you are once you've done it. I'm still figuring that out. Some nights I think about calling Sarah. I think about telling her that I'm sorry, that I understand, that I forgive her. But I never do, because the truth is, I don't forgive her, and I never will. And maybe that's the saddest part of this whole story. Not that she cheated on me, not that my best friend betrayed me, not that I lost 6 months of my life that I can never get back, but that I became someone incapable of forgiveness, someone incapable of moving on, someone who will carry this rage for the rest of my life. And that's a life sentence worse than any cancer. That's what I've learned, that revenge might destroy them, but it destroys you first.